So the other day I noticed that there was a new version of CPU-Z out, 1.79. Here I have on the right, and then in the README says it added a new benchmark version, 17.01. So after I downloaded it, of course, I ran the benchmark, and I noticed that I had very different numbers than what I had before, and I wasn't sure if the relative performance is still the same. So I fired up the old CPU-Z 1.78, and right away you notice that the numbers it reports are totally different. You know, it's they changed the algorithm, so the numbers are just different, but relatively speaking, the scaling is still the same. You know, my processor is a 2670 Sandy Bridge E, so it's a few generations old, so the per core performance IPC is not going to be as good, so I knew that, and that's not a problem. So I looked at Ryzen and how my processor compares to Ryzen, and I was trying to find the Ryzen on the old processor, the old version. I couldn't find it because this was released before Ryzen came out. And so I was like, okay, so I know that a lot of benchmarks out there use CPU-Z when Ryzen first came out to test it, and I know that CPU-Z was one of the benchmarks that Ryzen really shines because for some reason it just had superior and superb IPC in CPU-Z, and also the SMT was very efficient. It had something close to like a 20,000 multi-thread score. Now that's with an 8-core 16-thread processor, and I have 16 cores and 32 threads in my dual Xeon system. So, one Ryzen processor was, as fast as my dual Xeon setup here. So going back and looking at some of the numbers, this is like published, when Ryzen first came out in early March. And you see that the scores here, single core 2162, which is a fantastic score, and multi-thread 19209. So I got to thinking, well, so how did this new benchmark change anything? So I looked at the 1.79, and I looked at these numbers, which, taken by themselves don't really mean anything, right? Because you have to compare them with something. So I compared it with the 6950X, and then crunched some numbers, and this is what I got. So with 1.78, my computer versus the 6950X, I had 1178 versus 1864. This is single core scores. So that means my processor is only 63% as fast as the 6950X. And the multi-core 18122 versus 15,907, which means that my 2 Xeons is about 14% faster than a single 10-core 6950X. Now that's with me at 16 cores and 32 threads. Now going up to version 1.79, I got 305 for my single core performance versus the 430 and 6950, which means that my single core performance, the ratio here has gone up by quite a bit. So I'm now at 71% of the efficiency of 6950X, and I think I did this when I was still recording with OBS, so these numbers should be slightly higher. Looking at the multi-core scores, I have 5505 versus 5030, so that means my multi-core scores was actually less efficient than before compared to 1.78. So instead of getting 14% advantage, I'm only getting about 9% advantage compared to a 10-core processor. So now I thought, well, how does this change with Ryzen? And so I had to, of course, go back to the Guru 3D article and found some numbers at the time of Ryzen's release using the old CPU-Z benchmark software. And here are the numbers. So single core Ryzen 2162 versus 6950X is 1864. These numbers haven't changed. So that gives Ryzen a 16% advantage on a per single thread per core basis compared to a 6950X. And going up to multi-core, multi-thread test, it scored a 19209 versus a 15907 for the 6950X. So that means an 8-core processor with 16 threads was 21% faster than a 10-core processor with 20 threads. So even with less cores, less threads, it was still outperforming the 6950X, which is phenomenal, like amazing results. And this is something that was really favoring Ryzen at the time. But now fast forward a month or so, and with the latest CPU-Z 1.79, these are the numbers that's in the software. So I don't have a Ryzen system. I don't have a 6950X, so I can't run these. But these are just the numbers that are recorded in CPU-Z. So we get a 410 with Ryzen and a 430 for the 6950X, which means the Ryzen is actually now slower. It's only 95% as fast as the 6950X. And this is single thread test. Going to multi-thread, now we have 4470 for Ryzen versus 5030 for the 6950X, which means the multi-thread scaling is now down to, which means Ryzen at 8-core 16 threads is about 89% as fast as the 10-core 20-thread 6950X. So this is a dramatic shift for Ryzen as far as CPU-Z scores is concerned. You're going from handily beating a 6950X to still producing really good scores. But I think the benchmark is here was changed to bring it more in line with what the other benchmarks were showing. And that like the Ryzen's IPC was it really shouldn't be 16% faster than Intel's at this point. So this is something interesting that I found. I thought I'd share. So if you enjoyed it, please give a like, and thanks for watching.